welcome back to the AL Central Rundown. I'm Eric, and with me today is Lee, Dan, Ty, and Sam. And we're full on into the offseason for a couple weeks now. Some awards came in, but I think a majority of the episode we're just going to be talking about what the White Sox and the Royals are going to be doing this season in the offseason, kind of give you a preview. Think then we're also going to use OOTP for it. We've kind of bragged about that. We've used that for all the other teams. I think it's kind of fun. I don't know if anyone thinks it's dumb. Leave a comment. Who knows? I haven't really gotten, but I think it's kind of fun and nerdy. So with that, we have actual individual awards to talk about. We had the Gold Gloves and the Silver Sluggers, but the big time awards, the MVP, the Cy Young, and most importantly, the Manager of the Year came out this week. And our very own, now two-time reigning defending Manager of the Year, Stephen Vogt. Take a round of applause, Dan. Good job. Good job of voting, listening for the team.
So, by the way, unanimous award winner on the AL Central Rundown for Manager of the Year as well.
That's the one he wanted.
Yeah, that's the more prestigious of the awards. But yeah, so back-to-back years, Stephen Vogt has won the Manager of the Year award in every season he's been a manager. By the way, 100% of the time, clearly destined for the Hall of Fame at this point. Maybe, maybe not, but I think well deserved. I was a little bit pleasantly surprised that he actually won it. I thought John Schneider might win it for Toronto, but I think perhaps the timing of the award voting had something to do with this. The 15 and a half game comeback in the division was probably fresh in the voters' minds, considering the vote happens right at the end of the season. And it really was an impressive feat. I think kind of sometimes it's easy to kind of glaze over at this point, but well deserved. And the other kind of piece of news here is Vogt signed a 3-year contract to be the Guardians manager when he was hired at the start of 2024. That means he's in the last year of his deal. So interesting to see what might be next. I have to figure an extension will happen. I can't see how it wouldn't. Um, I pray we don't have a Craig Counsell scenario here. I don't think we will, but yeah, well deserved, and I hope that he continues to be the fearless leader of this ball club moving forward. I mean, they're going to need somebody of his ilk to kind of continue to navigate what happened with Clase and Ortiz. So,
I want thank you cards on my desk by Tuesday because clearly, 50% of it has to go to the Tigers' credit of that for just completely falling apart. And then it made Stephen Vogt look so much better because of a 15 and a half game comeback thing.
Well,
so clearly the Tigers contributed a lot.
I think if the season ended on, say, August 15th, AJ Hinch was probably going to be the manager.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. So kind of a bizarre turn of events in that case. There was 3 really deserving managers. All 3 finalists, I feel like, had a case. Schneider, Wilson, and Vogt. Like I said, I was pleasantly surprised. I thought Schneider was going to win just because of the full body of work. But here we are.
Yeah, well, I was a little bit vindicated in some of my awards opinions because I was the one who came on here and suggested that Stephen Vogt might win back-to-back Managers of the Year, and B, well, you can look at the Rookie of the Year voting.
I was wondering if you're going to bring that up because I did forget to talk about it at the start. But
Rookie of the Year voting, Noah Cameron finished higher than Colson Montgomery, according to the baseball writers, votes. So there you go. That's a big W for Noah Cameron. No, it's not.
For the benefit of the listeners and for Ty, because he wasn't part of the team at this point, we did our own awards a few weeks ago, and Colson Montgomery won AL Central Rookie of the Year over Noah Cameron, and Sam went apoplectic about it. So
I was unhappy about that because Noah Cameron played pretty much the entire season and 3/4 of the season, and I really think he deserved to have even more Rookie of the Year consideration than he got. But we're just a couple of jokers who jump on a podcast once a week, so who cares about our opinions anyway?
I will say I'd like to see what happens with a full season. So we'll see what 26 brings.
Yeah, and Noah Cameron looked good, looked sharp last year, and I hope that he'll be a big piece, and I hope that he's not someone that is a trade candidate for the Royals. I would like to see, him being from St. Joe, I would like to see him on the team for a while.
I really hope that during the season, like that becomes an actual rivalry. So like the Royals playing the White Sox again, like just for that matchup. Like I do kind of like that, and then we're gonna track.
I've got some
Maybe
bad
as we
news
get,
in that. I think
oh
lefty
yeah,
versus lefty there, Colson might sit a lot. I don't
Yeah,
know
that's
how high is. Do you think
bad.
he's more of a
God.
platoon guy, or is he
I'm
one of
not sure.
those talented guys that he's just going to be
the
able to
White
lift one
Sox.
hit
The
away?
White Sox need to be putting their best players on the field.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%
When
Matchups,
it's a
agree.
shortstop, you probably just need to have him in.
Yeah,
Fair enough.
matchups regardless. The White Sox need to put their best players on the field.
Before we move off of it, he's not AL Central, but the Brewers are kind of like
They're cousins.
spiritually AL Central. I want to acknowledge Pat Murphy too. One also won manager of the year for the second year in a row. First time that's ever happened. And Bobby Cox, Kevin Cash, and then Vogt and Pat Murphy are the only four to ever do that. So history was made as well.
All the awards
Those
this
votes.
year were super boring because it's repeats for both Manager of the Year, repeats for both MVPs, repeats for one of two Cy Youngs. It's like repeat World Champions. It's like, all right, what are we doing here? This is just running it back, I guess.
I mean,
It
speaking
was
of
a really
repeats, so go ahead, Dan.
It was a really interesting way to have repeats, though. Like everything that happened with it,
Right.
the substance was interesting, but we're in the same place we were.
This is unrelated, but I think of the award winners, the thing that hurt my feelings the most is when Dan said that same the little factoid in our Discord group. Lee, who was not currently alive during when Bobby Cox was a manager. I remember him being a big part of 90s baseball. And for Lee, I don't blame you for not knowing Bobby. There's no reason for you to know about Bobby Cox, but it did hurt me a little bit
Me too.
that we had to explain it, you know.
Like the man had his best years before I was born, all right?
Fourth all time in manager wins, most ejected manager in the history of the sport.
Bobby Cox is such a generic baseball name that I can't pluck that out and be like, oh yeah, he was the Braves manager until in the 90s and also until 2010. But like, that's
And
Also, if
and
you look
still
at
alive,
Bobby
by the way.
Is he really?
He is
for him.
84 years young. He was born in 1941. So
Oof. Man, all right.
because
And
I
also
looked him up wondering when he passed away, and then I found out that he's still alive. It's like when Gene Hackman died. My first thought was, oh, he was still alive.
Yeah.
To be fair,
Dude,
Bobby Cox looked like he was 70 in the 90s. Like,
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, Bobby Cox looked like he was 80 in 1990. Like he was not a young man
no.
even back then.
Apparently, he wasn't that old at the time.
I mean, I guess. So moving on.
well,
Cy Young
Skubal
came
just-
out.
Skubal's with the Cy Young.
The
He got
second most important.
27 out of 30 votes, which, yeah, I wasn't expecting them to be unanimous because I was like, all right, there's going to be like a few guys who are like, well, wins matter in the year 2025. I was like, that's dumb. But Skubal with the Cy Young, too bad we can't celebrate that. Instead, it's just, we're not going to be paying him, so he's not going to, it's hate all that conversation. Just annoying. But
I did like during when they were actually like accepting the awards, both Skubal and Skeens, who won the National League Cy Young, both had to be like, can we not talk about trading us? Like, can this not be what we talk about right this moment?
yeah,
Thought that was a nice little touch.
I don't know. I think it's really reductive when we talk about, these players are getting awards and stuff like that, and all we can talk about is their team going to be trading them this offseason? Like, I get that that's a talking point, but at the same time, it feels like it's taking away from the players' achievements to be like, well, what do you think about if your team's going to be trading you this offseason? Like, come on, guys. Could you, cut that out for, 24 hours?
I'll do you one better. You know what two teams have the two best prospects in Major League Baseball according to MLB?
Which
The
teams?
Pirates and the Tigers. there are reinforcements on the way, guy. Like, there's no reason to be all doom. Even Pittsburgh, who has been much maligned over years, especially because of their ownership, like they have talent coming.
Yeah.
It's a matter of if it will, kind of grow and match up with Skeens' timeline or not. But it's just such a lazy narrative to say, oh, those guys need to be traded and go to LA, New York, whatever. But no, like, especially Skeens, and I don't mean to take anything away from the Tigers, but he's got 4 more years, doesn't he?
Right.
Yeah.
He's got plenty of service time left.
There's no
And
reason
also-
to just assume that he'll be traded, except because the Pirates suck and the owners don't pay anyone. But like, it just feels so reductive to be like, well, hey, Paul Skeens, you just won the Cy Young you just won the Cy Young last year. You were Rookie of the Year. How do you feel about being traded to the Yankees? Like, come on, is that really your?
Those are the
shouldn't be your
stories that
priority.
get clicks.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
But
anyway,
yeah.
Tarek Skubal, we should actually talk about like how good he is, because now we're going into the same argument that we're going in.
I think from now on we should just refer to Tarek Skubal as Todd on this podcast.
I can't stop. That was
That's an inside joke. We're not explaining it.
I don't even know if I know this inside joke.
Go look in the Discord and
All right.
look at the. I think it's in the news tab. There's a photo of Paul Skeens and Tarek Skubal.
Oh, okay, now I get it. But all right, and then finally, the MVP came out. Aaron Judge won it for the American League. Cal Raleigh, who I think we all may have been rooting for, because why not? Came in second. I think he's the first player to ever be on a playoff team and hit 60 home runs to not win the MVP, for what that's worth. But also, I really can't blame Aaron Judge for winning it, even though it kind of breaks my heart a little bit, because we'll see what happens with Cal Raleigh next year. But as a catcher to hit 60 home runs,
that's a
feat
huge
itself.
deal.
Right, that is monumental.
I like to look at it this way: when the career is over for Judge, he's going to have this massive trophy case of all these different awards, and he's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer and all of that. You look at Cal Raleigh, and I'm not saying that he's not going to make the Hall of Fame. I'm not saying he's not going to win MVP in the future.
Yep.
But for the individual contributor, for that player, it was more important that he won that this year than Judge. And that's where I think it hurts that we have these back-to-back MVPs. I would actually advocate for, you can't win back-to-back. You can win year 1, year 3, but you can't win year 1, year 2. Because who else should be a face of the sport? Because if Aaron Judge goes down, okay, well,
It's
America,
just Ohtani.
everyone
and
needs
Judge.
it. Yeah.
That's the thing.
Well, it's kind of like this is going to be really a strange reference I'm about to make here, but stick with me. It's like in Pokemon, anytime they try to make a Pokemon other than Pikachu, like the secondary mascot, they really, a couple years ago, they were really trying to push Eevee forward as like the secondary mascot of Pokemon. It's like, no, everyone knows who Pikachu is. Everyone knows who Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani is. There's no third player who's going to be the face of baseball that everyone around the country knows. So that's why it is the way it is.
And there was a big kind of a social media trend I guess kind of, so MLB will post stuff on their Twitter all the time, right? And they will post some teams more than others, right? And they will post Ohtani's flyouts to be like, he almost got this one. It's like, guys, chill. But there was a bit started by the Nationals Twitter where because MLB would tweet out every score of every game, right? And they won't necessarily add exclamation points to sound excited about it, but the Nationals one time tweeted something along the lines of, why is there no exclamation point? Or something like that to the MLB account, be like, sound excited. And so it was a bit for teams of quote unquote smaller markets to retweet the MLB's tweet about the game, be like, "Where's my exclamation point?" or like, you know, sound excited, or like, "This is 5 in a row, by the way," you know, kind of things like that. And like, it's a thing because MLB they'll tweet Shohei Ohtani's home runs like the same home run 4 times from 4 different angles, and then won't even mention other teams. And it's like, okay, yes, we need MLB to promote its stars, right? And people will complain that they keep posting Ohtani. Post other players besides those two, you know?
To be fair, all of Japan watches everything Shohei Ohtani does. So they're definitely incentivized. It's one of those like this video isn't for me. It's for an entire country across the ocean sometimes. But I get what you're saying. Like, yes, MLB does the worst. Maybe I don't even think this is controversial. MLB does the worst job of marketing its players because outside of the top 2 or 3, there's nothing, even though it has the longest history. Football does a great job marketing its players. You can't even see their face when they're playing. Like, you have to like take off to actually see what they look like. But that's another gripe. But Lee,
the other problem is that Bobby Witt Jr. and Paul Skeens play for the Royals and the Pirates.
Yeah.
And those two guys are like the second tier of stars in MLB, and they play for small market teams.
Yeah, same for Skubal. Like, he plays for the Tigers.
Which is Seattle full circle, which is why somebody wins an award and somebody asks them, "What? Well, when are you getting traded to the Yankees?" That's the same conversation.
Yeah. Anyway, any other thoughts on Cal Raleigh, Aaron Judge?
Real quick, I kind of agree with Ty in the sense that when we talk about the 2025 season 5 years from now, we're going to remember, oh, Cal Raleigh, that's the year Cal Raleigh hit the 60 home runs. For Judge, this year's going to kind of get lost in all the other, like, probably going to more talk about the year he broke the AL home run record. Like, you're going to remember, oh, yeah, Judge was great that year, but you're not going to distinctly remember a thing he necessarily did.
Like, he's got 2 other MVPs. He's a good chance to get another one sometime in his career. I saw it put one way. I don't know if I necessarily agree with it. It's like, this is Aaron Judge's 2025 will not be remembered for how good it was because he has other good years. Cal Raleigh's 2025 season is the season that people 10 years from now will be like, remember how good Cal Raleigh was in 2025? Why didn't he get the MVP? That's going to be the conversation we have in 10 years.
It just seems like... Go ahead, Dan.
Jose Ramirez finishes 3rd in the MVP voting. Again, I mentioned it last week. I'll mention it briefly. Only 2 guys have been in finalists 4 times since 2017. Aaron Judge and Jose Ramirez. So consistency is key there. I'm done.
I actually have one point because that made me think. I was like, oh yeah, there were other people on that ballot as well that got votes. Bobby Witt, all that. Byron Buxton has an incentive in his contract that if he gets top 10 in the American League MVP voting, he gets $3 million. He came in 11th.
Oh.
I think it was literally if one other voter would have either put him 9th.
2 points. He was.
Yeah, if one other voter would have put him 9th or 9th or 10th, he would have gotten the bonus. Now, you could say if you are the poll lads, close enough, here's your check, buddy. Like, you had to been mentally prepared to write that, but we'll see if they do it.
Do you think they're going to do that, though?
No, I don't. Because that $3 million is probably their budget for the offseason at this point, but we'll see.
Again, going back to kind of how other markets talk about our teams. I saw like a video, I think it was an MLB Network or something. It was like, no, it was like someone saying like, oh, if I'm Byron Buxton, I want to waive that trade clause. I want to go somewhere where I want to win. And I'm like, not every player necessarily wants that. Like, it's not like Byron Buxton, he likes living in Minnesota. He's got his kids here. He likes the area. He doesn't necessarily want to uproot everything just to go somewhere else. I think it's, I don't know.
And I think there can be an element of, I like it here. I want to win here. Like, I think that's...
Well, and I think for Buxton, there was also the pressure of if he goes somewhere else and gets hurt again, it's a lot more going to be a lot more damaging to him than if he just gets hurt again in Minnesota, you know?
Right. I mean, part of and what I worry about, and probably too much, is I don't want to punish Byron Buxton for being loyal to the Twins, who might be a sinking ship. Like at some point, if the Twins are going to trade half the roster again, it's just going to be Byron Buxton and the glorified St. Paul Saints in a different jersey. That's a crappy situation for him. And like, if he would just want to win, he's 32 years old. We don't know. He doesn't seem like the type of player who is going to be playing into his 40s. Like, I feel like he has a lot of swing and miss. The speed eventually will stop dropping. I could see his decline being pretty sudden. I don't want him to just be stuck on a sinking ship with just like for the sake of doing it. So I don't know. I get torn. I love that he wants to stay in Minnesota and I hope he's a Twin for life, but I do kind of wonder if the Twins are going to test that.
Yeah. Well, we'll
not.
see.
Well, depressing to talk about. So, all right. Moving on, we have the Royals to talk about. So I'm
Yes,
going to
we
go.
do.
I'm going to share my screen, and Sam's going to talk, and I'm going to do my best to follow around what he is saying. So, Sam, go ahead and take over.
Yeah, so I went ahead and I broke this down in a way that kind of makes sense to me. So the way I broke this down is I have my own spreadsheet that I'm looking at, and I separated the players into three categories. Players who are likely to be on the team next season, players who are 50-50 coming off injury or are bench options, and then players who are unlikely, won't, or will be in the minor leagues. So I took the entire 40-man roster and did this. So to start out, very simple. The following players are under contract for next season: Bobby Witt Jr., Seth Lugo, Michael Wacha, Carlos Estevez, Cole Reagans, Salvador Perez. All those guys are locked up for next season. So obviously, they're all going to be on the team. I don't think there's any question about any of those guys' status with the team at this point in time. Next up is a couple guys who are up for arbitration. And the Royals actually have quite a number of guys who are up for arbitration this year. And the first two I want to talk about are Vinny Pasquantino and Maikel Garcia. I think most Royals fans would agree that those are two guys that we would like to see have around for a little while. Both of them are eligible for arbitration. I believe Maikel Garcia is the Super 2 arbitration, if I'm not mistaken. But he is going to be one or both of these guys is going to get an extension this offseason. And I would say that's probably going to be Vinny Pasquantino, just because he has been such a face of the team and has been such a kind of, he's on First Things First with Nick Wright covering the World Series. So he's valuable in a lot of ways. So I would imagine we'll see Vinny get a big time extension this offseason. Maybe not huge, but several years at the very least. And Maikel Garcia, on the other hand, we'll see. He's only had, one breakout season. I think he's going to maybe get a couple-year deal to knock out some of those arbitration years. If you're scoring at home, Maikel Garcia got 7 votes in the MVP voting this offseason. So I think he finished 14th.
Can you talk? So just with Garcia, was he a top prospect? I feel like he was a dude and then just kind of showed up like as a Twins fan. Was he a high rated prospect or did you see this coming?
He was someone who I honestly didn't hear a ton about prior to coming up to the Royals. I don't know what his prospect ranking was. I'm not 100% sure. He was number 3 in the Royals organization in 2023. So he was around. He was around for a while. I'm not 100% sure on, I wasn't paying as close of attention back then as I am now, to be completely honest. But for me, the biggest thing that we would always hear about, especially when he was young coming up, was about how he was cousins with Alcides Escobar. So there's that for a fun trivia question for you. But again, I expect him to get a couple-year deal with him being eligible for the Super 2 arbitration.
Who would you, between Pasquantino and Garcia, who would you hand that contract out to?
I think Vinny's probably going to get the bigger contract, and especially with their projections on Spotrac says that Vinny's worth about $5.2 million and Mikel's worth about 4.8. So I would expect to see Vinny get the bigger deal this offseason, but that's just my the way I see the situation. So
he is closer to free agency. He's a more known commodity. He's done it back to back. Where Garcia, you just don't want to hope he's a Royce Lewis incoming.
Yeah, exactly. So those two guys, let's get those guys locked up for a little while.
Alternatively, just really quick, if you're Garcia, man, I just got MVP votes. I'm not signing an extension. I'm betting on myself. We're going to make some money here in a couple of years. Like I could see that being the narrative on his end of things. It might be a situation where the Royals missed an opportunity to buy lower here with him.
And a lot of people had him as a breakout candidate last season, which he was not in 2024. He broke out in 2025. So he was maybe kind of a year behind what people thought he would be. I think Foolish Bailey had Mikel as one of his breakout candidates for 2024. So, but anyway, notice me, Senpai. Then we go into a couple guys who are up for arbitration, who I would also like to see come back. That is John Schreiber and Kyle Isbell. Two solid players for the Royals. Kyle Isbell was a finalist for Gold Glove this offseason, and Schreiber, again, has been good. There's been some trade talk about Schreiber, which doesn't surprise me. But those two guys are worth $4 million and $3 million estimated, according to Spotrac. So who knows? Lucas Erceg also has been a good player for the Royals since they got him last season in the trade deadline. I saw some conflicting reporting about whether or not he's eligible for arbitration. Some sources say that he is. Some sources say that he is not. But ESPN reported that Lucas Erceg is not yet eligible for salary arbitration. So I went ahead and went with that. That could be incorrect in my calculations, but still, I think Erceg, again, a guy who's likely to be on the team. And then we go down the list of some decent dudes for the Royals. Daniel Lynch, Angel Zerpa, Jonathan Bolin, Carter Jensen, Noah Cameron, Steven Cruz, Luinder Avila, Jack Caglione. All those guys are pre-ARB or in their first year of ARB, and I would expect all those guys to be on the team or contribute in some fashion to the team this year. So the total amount of money on those guys who I predict to be on the team next year is $106 million. So that is the amount of payroll that I think 100% guaranteed will be on the team next season for the Royals. So I don't know if anyone has any thoughts about any of those players that I just mentioned or not.
I mean, talk about Bubic a little bit, just because
I'll get to
Okay.
Bubic. Yeah, I'll get to Bubic, and he'll actually. We can go through this next section pretty quickly. These are players who are either 50-50 injury or bench players next season. So basically, players who I think could or could not be on the team, players who are coming off injury, or players who are bench pieces. Taylor Clark, decent relief pitcher for the Royals. James MacArthur was injured all of last season. Stephen Kolek picked up at the trade deadline. Alec Marsh, injury. Tyler Tolbert, Ryan Berger, John Rave, Nick Lofton. All of those guys are either pre-arbitration or in their first year of arbitration. None of those names really excite me. So if any of those guys are on the team next year, I will shrug, and that's not gonna make me angry or not. So anyway, then we'll go into, unless anyone has any thoughts on any of those guys I just mentioned. I can't imagine we have a lot of Nick Lofton opinions out in the open.
Not unless their family is listening to this.
Okay. Wow. And then we'll get into unlikely / won't / minors. Players who are going to be non-tendered, or players who have just recently been added to the 40-man roster, or players who I think are going to be traded. And one of those players is Kris Bubic. I have been saying for a while that I don't think he's going to be on the team this season. I think he's going to be traded. And he had a really good 4 months for the Royals in 2025. Had a rotator cuff strain, which didn't require surgery, but got shut down for the entire season. There's been a lot of talk about trades. There's been a lot of talk about who the Royals could potentially trade. This is Kris Bubic's final year of arbitration coming up. So he's going to be a free agent sooner rather than later. Given what he showed last season, and given the fact that he is not coming off of a surgery, I would expect him to be dealt to. There's been a lot of rumors about what particular team the Royals could trade with. I'll get into that in a little bit here in a second. But Kris Bubic, I think, is likely to be traded.
Now, what happened in 23 and 24? Why doesn't he have as many innings or games there? Was he injured?
He was coming out of the bullpen for a little while. So 24, he came back from injury, and they used him out of the bullpen. He was kind of being stretched back out to become a starter for a little while. He's been up and down in his Royals career. He's very similar, and this goes into the next guy I'm going to talk about. He's very similar to Brady Singer in his Royals career, where he's shown at times that he is a really good player, and he's also shown at times that he's very inconsistent. Mm. So I would say that with the potential he flashed last year, someone's definitely going to be interested. No team can ever have enough pitchers. So that's Kris Bubic for you. He's estimated to make $4.5 million in arbitration this off season. So again, that's a number that I think a lot of teams would be willing to take on for a season. So there's that. Speaking of speaking of Brady Singer, we're going to talk about my next guy on the list, who I don't think is going to be on the team next season, and that is Jonathan India, who had a very, very disappointing season with the Royals in 2025. He was brought in to be a spark to the offense, kind of add an additional stick into the bat, and he was not that, to put it succinctly. He was pretty bad this season for the Royals.
Yeah, what happened? I don't know. He was. Is it Kansas? Is Kansas City's ballpark rated as a pitcher-friendly ballpark?
It is, yeah. But the thing is, Jonathan India won Rookie of the Year in 2021, and every year after that, slowly his numbers went down.
It's been all downhill from there.
Exactly. And so not dramatically, oh my God, he's crashing apart, but a lot of people were, maybe change of scenery, breakout candidate, someone who could really find a second home. And that did not come to pass. So he's estimated, I saw a couple of different estimates on what he's expected to make. $9 million. The Royals aren't paying that. So I'd give it maybe a 10% chance that he could be non-tendered and come back for cheap if he wants to be, kind of redeem himself in this for this team. But I think we've got Jonathan India. I'm penciling him in as a future Marlin, White Sox, Rocky, Twin, a 2025 crap team candidate is what Jonathan India is. So,
But does it matter to you that he is a max effort guy in OOTP? Does that grit mean anything to you?
You try really hard and you don't produce results. There's not much to be said there. So,
In a similar vein, my recollection is Royals tried to play him at third in the outfield when traditionally he had been a second baseman his entire career.
yeah.
I don't know if that perhaps had anything to do with kind of his struggles at the plate. Those things can be tied to each other mentally. I
Yeah,
suppose,
for sure.
but
For sure.
for
They tried to get Michael Massey and Jonathan India to play left field at the beginning of the season because they knew how bad their outfield was. Problem is that A, neither of those guys are outfielders, and B, Jonathan India and Michael Massey were just as bad as the other players that the Royals had in the outfield. So kind of trying to fix a bullet hole with a Band-Aid there. I don't know if any of these guys that I mentioned are going to be on the team next season, but they attempted to move him around to different positions. Anyway, I'll go through the rest of the guys who I have on unlikely / won't / minors. Most of these names aren't going to be a surprise. Bailey Falter picked up at the trade deadline. He was bad. MJ Melendez, we know that story. Michael Massey, we know that story too. Drew Waters, Dairon Blanco, and I was very surprised that there is a player on the Royals 40-man roster who I have legitimately never heard of before, and that is Mr. Eric Sarantola. He's a relief pitcher. He's on the Royals 40-man roster. I have never heard of him before in my life. Yep,
Well,
there he is, Mr. Eric Sarantola. He's with the Omaha Storm Chasers. Right-handed pitcher. Those numbers in the minors don't look too good from what I'm seeing, and he's on the Royals 40-man roster. So there you go.
Hey, but those 2023 AA numbers.
Oh yeah, yeah.
1.93.
Northwest Arkansas Naturals All-Star right there, man. Whew.
25. I wonder if he won't be moved to the bullpen. It looks like now we're using OOTP as a start, but looks like the fastball velocity is 96, 98 as a starter.
Mm-hmm.
You might be see. You never know.
Yeah.
I can't wait for Eric Sarantola to just ram it down your throat next year, Sam.
Hey, you know what? I didn't say I didn't like the guy. I just said I never heard of him. So I am, and he's Canadian too, so that's fun.
Well, us Erics need to stick together, so I'm pulling for you.
There you go. There you go.
You
Eric,
decided to plant your flag here.
yeah,
right.
Eric. I want let's see it in 2026. So there you go. So the 50-50 / bench / minor, or sorry, the 50-50 / injury total came to $7.7 million. The unlikely total came to $23.8 million. So total payroll for the 40-man roster right now for the Royals is at $137.7 million, according to my calculations and estimates. What I think is a more likely number when we subtract the guys who I don't think are going to be on the team next year is that the Royals have a payroll around $113.9 million for next season. That's some wiggle room, I would say. I would say the Royals have kind of set the budget, according to some sources that I've read, to be around $130 to $150 million for next season. So there's some wiggle room in there. And I'll also mention free agents who have departed. Mike Yastrzemski, Luke Maley, Hunter Harvey, Adam Frazier. Those guys were all set to be free agents at the end of the season. One of those guys, some of those guys might be brought back. Who knows? And then Royals declined the Royals released Kyle Wright, declined the option on Randall Grichuk, and declined the option on Michael Lorenzen. So we'll see what if any of those guys are Royals again in 2026. But there's been a lot of trade talk, rumors about the Royals and about what the team is going to look like. And I think this is going to be a bit of a briefer off-season preview than we've had, because it's really clear to me, really straightforward, what the Royals need to do. And what the Royals need to do is they need to sign or trade for a second baseman, sign or trade for a left fielder, and get a plus platoon guy for the outfield as well. Because Jack Caglione is going to get a full, runway for him to be the right fielder for next season. Kyle Isbell, I hope, continues to be in center field. For what he is, I think he's a good enough player, and he was a Gold Glove finalist. Both of those guys are lefties. So the Royals are going to need to get a righty who can play center and who can play right, because Kyle Isbell sucks against lefties. And get someone in left field and at second base. So those are two not premium positions in baseball. You can get a left fielder and a second baseman pretty
million goes a long way.
Pretty reliably for those two positions. So I would expect one of the pitchers is going to be traded for someone, and the Royals to sign a mid to lower high tier player. So I think first I'll talk about trades first, because that's something that the Royals have been linked to quite often in the last couple days. The Red Sox and the Angels are two teams that came out as trade candidates for the Royals. And you look at some of the guys, those are two teams who have a pretty decent number of outfielders. If I were the Royals, I would want to target Joe Adell, which good ESP right there, Eric. Nice job. I would like to target Joe Adell, who had a big season last year, lots of home runs. He can stand in left field and stand at the plate and hit some home runs. He hit 37 home runs last season. Wouldn't mind seeing him. Taylor Ward for the Angels is another guy that the Royals have been linked to for the last couple years. He's a little bit older, so I wouldn't be quite as excited about the Royals getting Taylor Ward as I would the Joe Adell. So those are two candidates right there. Also, my tinfoil hat proposal that I've had for a long time of the Royals trading for Mike Trout. He's on the Angels, so there you go. He's an outfielder.
He is.
He would. The Royals would have to take on half his contract in order for that to happen. But here's the thing: sell a lot of jerseys. So
Can
what's more valuable?
Can I suggest one name that I've been thinking that I think this is not a flashy name. This is like setting a floor fourth or fifth outfielder type,
Yeah,
but he's on the Twins. I think Trevor
Byron
Larnach.
Buxton. Oh,
Oh, no. That would be a flashy name. That would be a name you would really want. I think Trevor Larnach on here kind of makes sense. He's just literally as a bat. He is just a 101 OPS guy. He's probably going to get non-tendered by the Twins if they do tender him a contract. He's going to get like $5 million. I think as a just setting the floor, he's a major league hitter with some upside at 28 years old. He's not a good defender. He's not. He is left-handed, so it doesn't necessarily work out necessarily in Kansas City. But the more he's replacing like a 70 OPS plus, and what was Hunter Renfro's, like 38 or something,
something like that.
Yeah. So he's better than he's just the league average hitter. I don't think he'll be on the Twins. And then the Royals and the Twins have traded before with Michael A. Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
There's at least a fit there. It's not the move, but it's
and the other thing is there's some flashy names out there that the Royals could go after. Honestly, last year the Royals brought in Mike Yastrzemski and Adam Frazier, two guys who are like the ultimate. They're on the poster for 100 OPS plus, right? If the Royals bring in a second baseman and an outfielder who can have a 100 OPS plus, I mean, that would be great. The Royals would probably go up 10 spots in the runs scored rankings next season.
I've got one. Sticking with the Angels real quick. This guy would be a reunion. He would be making $16 million in 2026, and he did unfortunately have a down 2025. Would there be any interest, probably for a lesser piece than Bubic, for a Jorge Soler reunion in Kansas City?
I question his ability to play the outfield because
Especially that outfield.
The Royals don't need a DH. So that would not excite me, a Jorge Soler reunion. Here's a couple other names I want to mention that have been thrown around. The Royals were also tied to the Red Sox. Trade candidate potential there. Obviously, the Royals aren't getting any of the Duran or Anthony. Wilyer Abreu would be a pretty decent guy to put in the left field. He's a two-time Gold Glover. Again, the Red Sox have a glut of outfielders. That would be a good name. And then the Royals have also been tied to Brendan Donovan as a potential trade candidate.
Oh, yeah.
He can play both the infield and the outfield. Who knows? I want
to look how many years he has left because I kind of like that fit.
Yeah. I would also say the Royals could get a little bit nutty and put Jonathan India at second base. Jonathan India. They did put Jonathan India at second base. That was nutty. It didn't work out. They could put Michael Garcia, it would be awkward to move a Gold Glover over to second base and then fill in third base with someone else. But Garcia came up as a shortstop. Now he's a third baseman. I would imagine he can probably also play second too. So I think there's some versatility where you can move guys around. But those are some names.
Do you remember? I have one name, but do you remember how much money they tried giving? What's his face? Santander last year.
I think they offered him I want to say it was like $22 million a year, but he had already agreed with the Blue Jays when they made that offer. I think that brings up a point. There are also free agents out there.
Yes,
the Royals have some people on the internet have suggested names such as Bichette and Bellinger and the top tier guys.
Yep.
I'm going to say right here, right now, I don't think that's impossible. I think that is impossible adjacent.
Can I wish for you?
Huh?
Can I wish cast for you? Because like the more I think of him, this does not help your defense at all. In fact, you're gonna tell him not to bring the glove. But if you just want the biggest bat, Kyle Schwarber will probably be available for $25 million, and I think that would be the biggest like single impact they can get if you just want one dude.
Yeah.
In a pitcher-friendly stadium.
He hit 50 home runs. He's done it pretty well. I don't know.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is it will be interesting to see some of the guys who also Glaber has been mentioned. As
I was
an
thinking
option
about. I was
for
about to
the
suggest
Royals.
Torres.
That wouldn't excite me too much, but that's also an option. And the other thing is, there's also guys like Ha Seong Kim, or guys like Jesse Winker or Cedric Mullins, sort of mid-tier guys where they could come and have, kind of a reclamation type season. But I don't want the Royals to be betting on someone who, we think he could, I want someone who's going to be a plug and play type of guy.
So I was going to suggest, but not what you're looking for. You don't want to continue his tour of the AL Central, Willie Castro.
No, I think I'm good on that.
Yeah, he's a good defensive utility guy, but you need a better bat than what he hit for 226 in 2025.
Yeah. So there's that. I mean, Luis Ariz is also a free agent second baseman. The excitement about Luis Ariz has kind of died down over the last 2 years, but I think he's another potential name. Who knows? There's a lot of guys out there, and I think the Royals just need to make the best acquisition they possibly can. And it's also reported that the Cubs want Chris Bubich, so there's another potential trading partner.
They're trying to trade Suzuki. Is that what I've heard?
I was going to say, if you could get Seiya Suzuki for Chris Bubich, that would be an interesting way to kind of piece that together.
Yeah, that'd be an interesting addition right there.
Or Ian Happ, either of those guys.
Ooh, Ian Happ could be a good one.
And I would also like someone who's a little bit on the. I would like someone who's on the short side of 30. But
well, yeah. So does everyone, though. So
yeah.
So do you think assuming they trade Bubich, is the player they would trade Bubich or a free agent going to have a bigger impact on this team next year? I like this policy.
I would say probably a trade candidate is usually a better bet. And also, I won't give 100% chance that the Royals are trading Chris Bubich. I'll give that a 75% chance, because the Royals also have Ryan Bergert, Stephen Kolek, Daniel Lynch could be a trade candidate. Eric Sarantola, of course, a lot of potential there. But I think the Royals, again, they've got some options. They've got some guys who they can deal. And these are some very Trump gestures I'm doing right now. I need to stop that. They've also got Blake Mitchell down in the minors, who is, I think, like in the 70s ranked for prospect rankings. He's a catcher. The Royals have 2 catchers who I think are going to be pretty good for them next season. And I would hate to see them trade Carter Jensen in the offseason. That would make me really sad if the Royals did that.
Is he another Missouri own?
He's Kansas City native, Carter Jensen. Went to Park Hill High School. But he is good. He's a good guy for next season to see what he can do after he got a little cup of coffee.
May I make one more potential trade idea?
Go for it.
How would you feel about a Gold Glove winning left fielder who will probably hit 325 in Kansas City's outfield space for
Uh,
Carter Jensen?
I would feel pretty good about that.
Yeah. Well, it probably doesn't happen because of the division. But
Well,
if we could get a catcher, the Guardians could get a catcher that
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
could be
that's
plug and play
interesting.
and
No,
supplant
we need to get
O'Neill.
Stephen Kwan out of the division.
Yeah,
Out
yeah,
of
that's
here.
interesting.
Go play for the National League.
Well, and I also
Far
think
away from me.
teams are a lot more willing to trade in division than they were 10,
Agreed.
15, 20 years
Yeah.
ago. I will also say that Brendan Donovan has also been linked to the Guardians as the two teams who are trying to get him. I think that would, who knows, but I would be interested. Again, something, not nothing in the outfield, and it's so the Royals need one second baseman, 1.5 outfielders.
I think I've said it before, but like the Royals, I think the Royals for just signing for $30 million can have the biggest impact on their roster for what they're trying to replace. Like it was dire in the corners. Like Jack Caglione is like he has his spot. He's new, but like left field, and you're saying first base. I would argue a DH with a Kyle Schwarber type. Seems like you're not a big fan of that, and I get it. Kyle Schwarber will probably not age gracefully. I think he's 32. He's been in the majors 10 years. There's a lot of wear on those tires, and he should not have a glove anymore. But they just need offense. They had the pitching last year. If they can get it next year, I really like them with like two big bats. So just go get the biggest bat you can.
The Royals
Yeah.
are going to have some combination of Salvi, Jensen, and Vinny at DH. Right. Because I think we're going to see a lot more. I think Salvador Perez is going to be the Royals DH for at least 82 games this season. And then so like that's why I say that we don't need a DH, because I think we're going to see a lot more of Jensen behind the plate and Salvi in the DH spot. So that's
if you could pick, and again, I'm not trying to just because like I keep stumping for him, and also like the likelihood of him going to the Royal, I get it. It's a long shot at best. Glaber and Schwarber are ready to sign the identical contracts. Who, Sam, are you giving that contract to?
I would probably go with Schwarber on that one. I don't know how much Glaber just doesn't, for me personally, he doesn't do it for me. So I think I would go for Schwarber on that one. And hey, here's the deal: if the Royals do go out and they get Bichette or they get Bellinger or they get one of these big name guys, they go out and sell the farm to get Munateka, I will be, I will be shocked beyond belief or not shocked. I will be very surprised pleasantly with John Sherman and his commitment to selling the farm to get a big name on this team.
You'll be a happy boy.
So who knows? I don't think it's impossible. I think it's unlikely, but I also think the Royals are not a bad destination for one of these free agents.
I don't think so.
Because it is a town that I think really has it's a city that has a real appetite for good baseball, and it is a city that's very much in the spotlight in the last 10 years, and you are potentially getting to hit between Bobby Witt Jr. and Vinny Pasquantino.
Sure.
Which I think most players would sign up for that.
Yeah.
So it's not impossible that they get a big name, but I think it is more likely that just two guys who can go out there and have a 105 OPS plus, put up 2.5 WAR, and be just a solid major leaguers. That's what I'm looking for.
How much does it matter to you that one of the individuals that gets brought in is capable of hitting leadoff, hitting in front of Witt? Because I know that's been something the team's been searching for at least 2 years now. That's part of why India was brought in.
And that was part of the reason why India was brought in. The problem with that is we were too committed to making the India leadoff thing work last season, and we left him in that spot for way too long. Michael Garcia should have been the leadoff hitter once he was emerging in the way he was. They just didn't do that. So I would imagine we're going to see Michael Garcia at the top of the lineup next season, followed by Bobby Witt Jr., and then we'll go from there. But, hey, Jonathan India, last pitch of Clase's career was against Jonathan India. It was a 3-run walk-off home run. So there you go. He's got that little
not including the postseason, but yeah.
No, it was the last pitch of Clase's career was against Jonathan India.
That's fun.
In 2025.
Because he wasn't in the playoffs because he had already been put on leave, right?
Yeah.
Oh, duh.
Yeah.
I don't know why I didn't put that together.
You're good. I was doing the math too.
Yeah, it was like the day or the 2 days
Yes.
before Clase got put on leave.
That's after he had drilled India in the head earlier in the season for opening weekend.
Yeah.
Yep. So that was the last pitch of Clase's career, right there. So anyway, not to rub it in or anything.
No, that's fine. He deserves it, honestly. Allegedly deserves it.
Mm-hmm. I bet he deserves it.
Well, when your defense is, no, I wasn't gambling. I was just fighting roosters.
Yes, when your defense to a crime is I was actually committing another crime. That's when you know you're in trouble.
Yeah.
10 years ago, 60. So
it is true. I looked that up. But yeah. Anyway, any other thoughts on the Royals?
Yes.
No,
So
I think that about does it for me. Unless Lee wants to chime in.
I got something. I think the Royals have the clearest path to making big improvements next year. It's get more offense.
Yes.
I looked on Baseball Reference, assuming I counted these correctly. The Royals have 34 games in which they lost by 1 or 2 runs.
Mm-hmm.
If you can flip half of those,
10
of those, I mean, that's going to make a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
So just getting a little extra bit of offense is just what they need.
And they're in positions that you can find offense easily.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, second base, fine, but like corner outfield, they're loaded.
Yeah.
Go get one.
And here's the other thing is that the Royals, for at least 2024, the Royals are ahead of schedule as far as being a competitive team. They made the playoffs in 2024. They had a winning record in 2025. So this is the time where the Royals were supposed to be competitive. They are competitive. So let us gird our loins, fill our horn with oil, and go to the postseason.
I don't like how any of that sounded.
Yeah, you don't read the Bible much, Eric?
No.
Okay.
No, I didn't.
That's what Moses told the Israelites, that they were to gird their loins and fill their horn with oil and go.
All right, I never want to hear those words in that order again.
Something my mom says all the time. Anyway.
No. Well, let's
have more
It means like you take your tunic and you cinch it up real nice and good so that you can like run and walk across a desert.
You keep trying to explain this. I don't want any more explanation.
Yeah.
So let's gird our loins all the way to Chicago, because I don't know how else to transition over to that.
Why did you have to put it like
that? Ty, this also, I think this is our first White Sox segment in I think 4 months, other than just introducing Ty. Hey, we've done it full circle. We're covering the biggest, Dan said, the biggest market in the division. Good for us. So, Ty, let's talk about the White Sox for a bit.
Let's talk about the White Sox, Eric. If you wouldn't mind bringing up OOTP, I'm going to try to give this my best. I hope any of the Sox fans that listen feel like I do us justice. Just a couple of things. I just want to level the playing field really quick. So keep in mind, this team went 41 to 121 and 24. Just the absolute worst case scenario. 2025, we went 60 and 102. So when we start to look at what this offseason looks like, we've already started to bring up a lot of our big prospects. So what we're looking at is our payroll in 2025 was 79 million, 28th in the league. This is going to be that's like a high number. We're not going to make it back to that number until 2026, 27, 28. We are not going to be signing any major free agents. Now, we did pick up Robert's extension or the option on this year. Whether or not I agree with that is a whole other side conversation.
Yeah, let's actually can we talk can that be the conversation
let's do
now?
it.
Because
let's do it. Let's do it.
I think I agree with you. I think this experiment just needs to be done. I can see the logic behind it, but why?
I disagree with you wholeheartedly.
Do you? Okay.
There is understand it, and White Sox fans are probably going to disagree with me, but I get it. I'm an eternal optimist. Just putting that out there. You are not going to get the level of fielding from any free agent, from anyone in your farm system that you have here. Am I saying that his fielding ability is worth $20 million? No. Is the potential of him being good enough to be a regular center fielder of Gold Glove caliber to give you a third of a good season? And I'm like, just being honest, a third of a good season. He's shown you what your expectations of him should be. Now, if you look at those games played over the years, 2023, 145, 2024, 100, 2025, 110. If he can continue to give you the 100 mark, it is what it is. Man. We have kids, we have a bench, we can fill in that spot when he's not there. The goal is that, and I think I mentioned this on the pod last week, I mean, he had 8 injuries or something along those lines. You can't get injured running to first. Right. It's not realistic. I will say, I still think it's realistic that he's gone at the trade deadline. I don't think he'll be traded in the offseason, but I do believe that if he can continue to play that gold glove level center field and not get hurt or not continue to hurt the same parts of his body that he continues to hurt, there's potential to go somewhere else. Or he's also just a mainstay on the team. Sorry, go ahead.
No, and I get I can get the upside. To me, I think our logic might be a little bit different. Like, it's not that I am absolutely against them picking up the option. I do see the logic in it. To me, you're not picking him up for what he is. It's what his potential can and should be. And what concerns me about him is, yes, the games play, whatever. I'm a Twins fan, Byron Buxton. I can't say anything about availability is the best ability, right? Blah, 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 blah. He's never been a patient hitter, but also what concerns me is his power just fell off. And his slugging percentage the last 2 years is at 370. Where did that go? I understand it's $20 million. If he can find that power again, I get the logic. It's a lot for someone who is Kyle Isbell is kind of like his profile right now. And I don't mean that to hurt on, because I like Kyle Isbell. It's just Kyle Isbell's making the minimum. Luis Robert is making $20 million. I don't.
Now, the one thing, go down the H home run column.
Yep.
11, 13, 12, 38, 14, 14. He was never going to be a 30 home run hitter.
Sure. But even if you look at his actual
So,
slugging percentage, it was 560,
yeah.
420, 540, and then it just like why did it crater? I guess is what I would like, and also the White Sox would like to know this too. Like, if they can find a coach that can turn him around, or if they
And I
can,
think that's it. I think that's 100% it. Finding the coach that's going to give him what he needs, to tell him the things that he needs in the way that he needs it. Once again, we've across baseball, at least across the Central, we all know that this is one of the scariest players on the team, at least until the kids come up. But now that he has other people around him, he had to be the guy. 23 and 24. He didn't fill that profile.
Yep.
So my theory is that as you continue to have better pieces around him, it takes less off of him mentally, so he can just go out and play.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I get the logic in holding on to him. Like, who else is the team going to be paying? What else? Why not? I mean, it's kind of just, I get the idea of, like, cut your losses and just move on. But, like, they're not going to be paying anybody else. They're not going to be signing any big free agents. They don't need to free up that space. He's not blocking anybody in the outfield right now.
That's a fair point.
It's, no reason not to. And if he becomes that, MVP caliber type of player that people thought he was going to be after 2023, then great. If he doesn't, then who cares? It's, it's not like you were going to pay someone else.
Yep.
I feel like this was always where this was going to land, given the fact that my recollection is Robert didn't have a very good first half last year, and that might be underselling it. Where, I think the everybody's thought was, oh, well, he'll get traded at the deadline in 2025. And he played so poorly that he didn't have the value to do that. So I think logically, as the White Sox, what you do in that case is, okay, we'll pick up the option, we'll run it back, and hopefully his trade value this year is more than it was last year, because it'd be very hard for it to be less at this point.
And he did pick it up.
That's a great point.
And though, in the event that doesn't come to fruition, well, then you're just back in the same place you were. Like, you didn't lose anything other than the $20 million you paid him.
With your payroll being so low.
Yeah. So, like,
it is
why
what
not
it is.
just bring him back, try it again? If not, then he's just a free agent, and you end up in the same spot you would have been just a year later.
And I want to emphasize on that point in the first half. He had a terrible first half. Now, when he came back in the second half, before he was injured in September, he was performing above that average level. It just, once again, can you get that for an entire season or a majority of a season? So that I think that's the big question with Robert. And ultimately, as I think what we all said, it is what it is. He's either going to go and outperform, or at worst, he's going to be hurt for half of the year, and he's going to be a Gold Glove outfielder when he's out there. And that's what he is for the Chicago White Sox. And I do believe for a playoff caliber team, if all you need to do, if he's your number 7, 8, 9 hitter,
sure,
dude, come, like,
you have a good offense, right?
Yeah, so we'll see what happens at the for the first 6 months of the year. We'll see if he stays healthy, and if he does, I would not be surprised to see him somewhere else.
And he did pick it up offensively in the second half of the year. I mean, the whole White Sox team offensively was a lot better after the All-Star break. I mean, maybe it's a vibes, like the team as a whole is a little bit better, and he's able to pick it up a little bit if he has some support 100%. Around him.
Yep. Anyone else have any other comments on Luis Robert Jr.?
Percent chance that he is a White Sox in 2026.
For at least one game, 100%.
Okay.
For
a game in August.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with like a solid 30.
Okay.
I don't, because that's the thing. If he always has bad first halves, because he's trying to find himself, we'll see.
Here's a question for you. This is weird. I don't think this is going to happen in like a million years. But Dan, Cleveland needs a center fielder.
This crossed my mind too when Ty was talking about. I seem to be a little bit more concerned with trading within the division than most of you guys are.
I'm not a big
Yeah.
fan of trading in division, for the record.
On its face, if we take that away, no, I'd rather Robert offensively hasn't been good long enough for me to feel comfortable with trading like Slade Ciccone or something for him.
Mhm.
That to me, it's not enough of an established pedigree there.
Hey, Dan, quick question.
Yeah.
Were the Guardians ever a high caliber team for offense?
Ever? Oh yeah, definitely. It's been quite a while, but at one point they were.
You gotta
I
go
think
back to
he
Manny
fit-
Ramirez and Jim Tomey, but
I think he fits your profile more than he fits the Chicago White Sox.
I think there's
Just
some
saying.
validity to that in that, obviously, like you said, he's a great defensive outfielder. I mean, him and Quan in the same outfield, nothing's dropping, period.
100%.
I'm just too, I want more of a sure, I guess it's relative. Like, if there isn't more of a sure thing out there, then sure, I think we'd listen to it, but it wouldn't be my first choice. Let me put it that way. It wouldn't be my first choice.
And let me be clear, when we talk about trading Robert, he's going to a team that they know they're going to make the playoffs. That they know that whoever is in center field at that time is either a higher risk than he is or is a worse fielder.
He would check a lot of boxes. They need a right-handed hitter. They need a center fielder. I get it. The personality kind of concerns me as well. I think maybe that could fit in the clubhouse here where they seem to care a lot about chemistry, but it also might be a reason they choose not to pursue him.
I mean, you have the two-time manager, the back-to-back manager of the year, and Austin Hedges working his magic.
And to that point, we had two guys on the team that were purposely trying to not do their best. So maybe I'm, calling the kettle black here, but I don't know.
And I just want to say, and I hate this for us as Sox fans, but going back to Andrew Vaughn, we're going to talk about first base in a little bit. He went to another organization. There were parts of the second half where he did revert back to what he was doing on the Sox, but in general, I want to say he ended up with 290, 300 average. Like he did better in the second half with Milwaukee than he had ever done in a over that same span of games with the Sox. I would say Robert, given the caliber, the ceiling that he's reached here, if you send him to Tampa Bay, if you send him to Cleveland, a team that is really good with player development or showing the players what they're really good at and what to focus on, I can't say that he wouldn't be worth $20 million. I really can't.
Vaughn had 1.8
You know what?
WAR in 64 games for the Brewers. 141 OPS plus.
Jeez.
So
That hurts.
In a way, you guys are selling me on the premise of him coming to Cleveland. And another Ty just brought up another thing that goes against it, and that I have a hard time believing they'd spend $20 million. They're paying
Yeah, that's what I was
Jose
thinking.
Ramirez.
you only be paying half.
Ramirez
Keep that in mind.
$21 million right now.
Keep that in mind. Half, $10 million. That's it.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyway, Eric, do you want to go back to the pays for the next year? So Andrew Benintendi, our next big look.
Biggest contract in White Sox history.
75 mil. So here's the thing.
Yeah.
He has definitely started to do better over the course of the last year or two than he was at the beginning of his contract. Now, is he going to be here for the entirety of 26? I would say it's also a 30% chance he's not. If he can perform at a level, I think he's far enough in his contract that if he can perform up to the level that we know that he can, once again, Hey Dan, do you want a second outfield?
No.
I get it.
I can answer this one directly. Do not want a worse Stephen Kwan. Thank you.
I got to try.
It's all right.
So with Benintendi, we have a young clubhouse. At the end of the day, even if he's just around to be the quote unquote Paul Konerko type, where he's quiet, but he's coaching the kids, he's showing them the right quote unquote right way. It is what it is. He's probably on the team till the end of his contract, and that's what it is. But I don't expect the world from him. I mean, he's 31, age 31 season. Is he going to be worth $17 million? No. Is he going to show up every day? Is he going to be a good clubhouse presence? I think so. So not a whole lot else there for me on Andrew.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think you're wrong with Benintendi. I like it. It hasn't been the contract the White Sox wanted. I also think when they signed it, the rest of the league was like, that seems like a lot for Andrew Benintendi. But like the same point that we just made for Robert, who's it hurting? Like who? Andrew got his money, good for him. Like it's not like
I mean, it's hurting Andrew mentally probably, but
oh, those checks still cash though. Like I can I can pay to suck for 17 million a year. And like I'm sure he's a good clubhouse guy and all that good stuff too. It hasn't worked out as they would have liked, but he's not a waste.
You don't usually say good clubhouse guy about someone who's producing outside of the clubhouse, you know.
What was funny is I had my mic muted, but like when Ty, you made me laugh when you said Andrew Benintendi and then you said look. And then there's never a good never a good summary is coming after you say, "Hey, look, I know it's bad, but give me a minute here." So it just made me laugh. But
so any other questions about Andrew? I think we're good here.
I think that could be said about the White Sox. You could say, look, the White Sox.
Now hold on. All right. I'm just saying, the story gets better over the course of this White Sox, off-season look. So hang in there with me. All right. So we talked about Benintendi. We talked about Robert Tauchman. I really, really hope we pick up. We give him the money he deserves, whatever it needs to get him on the team next year to make him feel like he's part of this roster. When he was leading off this year, I felt like things were happening. I mean, he had 10, 11 pitch at bats, which if you're not a White Sox fan, we don't typically do that. We normally swing and miss at the first 3 pitches.
the first 3.
I'm just saying, a la Robert. Mike Tauchman to me, and I was a little hesitant because like he came over, he was on the Cubs and like you heard about him, then he came over to the White Sox, and once again, just 1.7 WAR you can see there. He's not taking away from anything. I think he deserves a higher salary than the $2 million he got paid in 25. Obviously there was the injury. He is 34 going into 35 season. I really enjoyed having somebody like him around, someone like him at the top of the lineup, at least for another year while our kids continue to develop. I really hope. Worst case scenario, he's a candidate to be traded at the deadline, but we'll see how that turns out.
I do like how he's personality, run of the mill ball player. That's code for he's a boring person and doesn't have any other traits. It's a little sad.
Sometimes you need that. Sometimes you need that in the clubhouse.
Well, also let's not pretend OOTP is in the clubhouse either. So like, it's funny. Like I look at the personality too, but
I just like seeing the descriptors that they'll put there and like, all right, I don't know if that's a compliment.
I mean, giving Mike Tauchman $5 million, I think is like just check the box. Go ahead and just do that. Like,
yep,
why not?
I feel like anything under $5 million for a team is like that's like nothing. It's like whatever. Yeah. It doesn't matter.
Especially in Chicago, which I think is going to be a running theme for this entire time.
Agree. So that's our outfield. I don't even need to go into our outfield for next year. I will say we'll come back to it in the wish list. But ultimately, Benintendi, Robert, Talkman. If they're all healthy, no reason why that's not your opening day outfield. Any questions on our outfield?
No, I mean
All right,
I'm a little
that
worried
leaves
on
us.
I'm a little worried on the ceiling of it, but it's fine. I mean, it's fine. Like you can spend. I would probably spend some money on it, but
And what I'd like to rebuttal that with, this is not going to be a team that's going to win the World Series. What it is going to be is a team of kids and aging adults that are going to try to make the best of the situation. I'm going to say this now because I'll be talking about it the rest of the off season. If they are the Cincinnati Reds of last year, that's a goal.
yeah.
And I think with that outfield, it's possible.
I mean, yeah, I
I'm just putting
think
it out there.
the infield to me is like it. That's where like the talent is really starting to show. So to me, if I'm, yeah, and I'm sure you're going to talk about the payroll. The payroll is not high, shockingly, with this team. If you want to just like at some point, Chicago's going to start spending. And when they do, it just like who are they going to get? Like I think that's just what at what year is it this offseason they start spending or is it next offseason? I think is really what the debate is. But
Yeah, so if you want to go back to that screen with all the salaries. So we talked about outfield, our top 3 guys. Does anyone else see a salary value over 760? Oh, I'm sorry, over 1.2 million for
arbitration.
2026?
That's a
Nope.
lot of league minimum.
Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah. So, I mean, the story is we have a bunch of kids or Rule 5s or whatever it may be. We are getting steals on some of these players. We are paying other players more than they should be making because ultimately they wouldn't be on 29 other teams, is what it is.
Oh.
As of right now, the expectation from GM Chris Getz is we are not going to make any big splashes.
Ugh, that.
But we'll talk later
Yeah.
during the pitching segment about what might occur. So salaries, it's going to be below 50. I below 60 even. I don't see it getting anywhere near what it was last year. Any comments about our payroll?
Not really. It does hurt me when the GM just says we're not going to spend big. Like I just why not? Like why not? You're in Chicago. You're making plenty of money, but that's my own personal gripe. Not Chris Getz is not making that decision.
Yeah. So if we want to look at what the fielding looks like, we're going to talk a little bit more about our infield. So we already talked left, center, right. At third base, it's going to realistically be Colson Montgomery. Everyone in the Central knows, everyone in hopefully baseball knows that Colson Montgomery, as long as he can produce anywhere near to what he did back half of last year, he's here to stay. At least that's, I'm sorry, Colson is at shortstop. I don't know why I did that. Vargas is at third base. Sorry about that. Miguel Vargas at third base. Let's talk about him. So he came over from the Dodgers. He's going to, from what everyone can see, he continues to produce better and better levels as he continues to grow towards his potential or his ceiling. Do I think there's any reason that he wouldn't be on the team this year? He could be part of a trade package with Robert, but I don't see the point of it.
Was he part of the
Either he's
trade? Was it one of them?
I believe so. Yes. So at this point, that's still to be seen whether or not we got the better player. But he produced consistency last year. He was good in the lineup. As you can see, 138 games, OPS plus 99. That being his second best season. I think he is also going to be someone that the better that the team around him gets, the better he's going to become. So that I think that's our third base situation. You also have our secondary in Curtis Mead, who came over from Tampa, I believe. So we'll see what that looks like for the year. Any questions on Vargas or Mead?
I don't know who Mead is, so
Neither do we.
okay.
It's
I was
okay.
about to say that maybe not
Your Tampa Bay infielder type.
got it.
That's all I got.
I have one piece of commentary on Vargas, and that's that things you want to see. His OPS plus in the second half was 120.
Mm.
So progression throughout the course of the year. My recollection was that he hit a lot better in the second half, and the numbers back that up.
100% agree. And I, not to go macroeconomic too quick, but when you look at the second half, that's what we're hoping, that at least when we talk about offense and fielding, the second half is who we hope the White Sox are within 10% for the entirety of 26. Does that mean we're going to win 85 games? Probably not, but it at least helps us understand where we're at going forward. I think that's the goal. All right, moving to shortstop, Colson Montgomery. As long as he does not get hurt, as long as he continues to produce anywhere near what he does in the back half of 25, there is no reason why he's not your shortstop for the next 6-7 years. Hopefully they'll sign him to an extension. I'm not going to get my hopes up too high. 129 OPS in 2025 at the major league level. Once again, one of the best stories to come for the Sox fans in a very long time, when we're so used to prospects that come up and ultimately just cannot figure it out. You got that 2.2 WAR. I believe he was our team leader in in WAR. So we're really just hoping to see the same from him in 26. There might be a little bit of regression as pitchers start to adjust against him.
Do you know, was he, this is kind of the same question I had for Sam about Maikel Garcia. I was more familiar with Colson Montgomery, but do you remember what was his prospect status? Was he like a top 50 global prospect? Like, what did he come out of nowhere? Is he a development miracle? What is he?
He was in our mind. The ceiling was high, but it took him a while to get to where he needed to be. I mean, you look at the levels over the years, starting in 2021, going from rookie to A, like he either had it or he didn't. It wasn't being able to produce those consistent results, whether it's because of injuries, whatever happened down there. He was rated as a top prospect at one point. I think he has the biggest value, or after we sent him to Arizona to go through that, to get his swing back, that's where you started to see this is the Colson Montgomery that everyone saw when we were going to replace Anderson. And that was I believe that was the plan all along. And he didn't go fast enough to meet as Anderson, got punched in the face. But you know what I mean? It just didn't work out. And now he's here and hopefully here to stay.
I think you're going to talk about him next, but is Sosa the second baseman? He's not who I want to talk about, but
we're gonna slot in Mydroff into that second base spot.
That's who I wanted to talk about. So go ahead and talk about him.
You talk about a kid who just comes out and plays hard every day. I've heard it on every White Sox podcast that I listen to. He's just what White Sox fans want. I may not be the best second baseman out there, but I'm going to come out every night and try to prove that I am. He had an 83 OPS in his first 122 games in 2025. He's a good fielder. He's decent at the plate. He had a 1.2 WAR. I think that my hope is that he does not regress terribly over this next season. He gets on base. He fits that profile of the future. We are not going to be just home runs. We have that Kansas City development background with all of our coaches and players that have been there before. But I just the grind, the daily day to day. I'm going to come out here and try to beat you. We love him for it.
Back when we didn't have a Chicago, a month ago, when the White Sox were playing better in the second half, I think like Dan and I would consider like Chase Meadroff. I don't think he's very flashy, but he's just like he's a gnat. You can't swat him away. He's not going to strike out. He's that grinder, like max effort baseball player that seems like he would be a good utility guy. And if things really work out with, he can be a decent starter for a couple of years. But I really liked Chase Meadroff probably more than his potential will end up being, if that makes sense. I was impressed with him. I liked how he
So
played.
I'm going to give you this. So with the few White Sox podcasts that I listen to, I've heard a comp to Dustin Pedroia on the ceiling side.
Oh dear.
I,
Okay.
I,
Okay.
I'm going to let him cook,
I
if
get
you
you.
will. On the not so ceiling side, a Mike Ellis, those types of like a super utility guy.
Right.
And worst case scenario, he is who he is last year.
There were two names that I thought of, not to cut you off, but Gordon Beckham, who I think is beloved in Chicago. No,
No,
don't like
definitely
that.
not.
Okay, well, and then he played for the White Sox, but barely. Eduardo Escobar. He seemed like that type of. I think if he would have Eduardo Escobar's career, I feel like that would be a success. But I don't know.
And I will say, when you use that Gordon Beckham comp, the worst thing about it is that how quickly he fell off. I'm really hoping that someone like Meadroff, with the drive that he has, the passion he brings to the game, that he will, even if he's a little worse than league average, he can maintain that 85 to 90 for multiple years, where it's like it's still worth to pay you and have you on this team to be a mainstay. I hate to say it, Larry Garcia, who we had for a decade. But once again, just good clubhouse presence. I'm going to try to win every night, and I love Chase as our second baseman for 2026.
Give me a
This
90
is a
OPS every year, play three positions well, and keep the harmony going in the clubhouse,
And
and you'll be happy. And
and
the other
not
thing I
get
wanted to
hurt.
mention,
That's the other thing.
go ahead. Oh,
this
that I think Eric and I's reaction that he was alluding to before is my recollection is, and I could be wrong on this, but I feel like Mydroff was the first of these guys that came up this year. And so it was the first impression of like, oh, okay, they've got some guys coming now. And so it was him, and then it was probably Vargas after that, and he had a better second half, like
Teal.
I was saying. And then Montgomery comes up, and we're like, oh, okay. And then the Twins backslide, and we're like, oh, well, Chicago is probably trending in the right direction now compared to at least one other team in the division.
We're just glad that other people can see it. So I will say Vargas has been here for at least a year or two from that Kopech trade from the Dodgers. He hadn't found himself. I mean, this is where he really started to like, I'm the third baseman or first baseman of the Sox. I think he was a little angry with going from the top organization to one of the worst. But I 100% agree. So Chase was the first of this prospect capital coming up, kind of seeing what it was like. I think he was a great transition personnel, so that as Kyle Teal came up, as Montgomery came up, like they had someone to kind of like, well, what's it been like, So having that around has been great.
Mydroth is one of those guys that when he came up and started playing pretty decent, a bunch of the people I follow on Twitter were like, "Oh, he's gonna be one of those obnoxious Tiger killers, isn't he? He's just gonna be one of those guys." A lot of the Tiger fans I follow, like, "Oh, he's gonna be annoying, isn't he?"
That's the goal. That's the
That's
goal.
the goal.
All right. So
I did
moving to
feel-
oh, sorry, Eric. Go ahead.
Nope, go ahead. We've talked about Chase Meadroff probably more than his family talks about Chase
All
Meadroff.
good. All good. All right. So first base. This was a problem this year. We had Andrew Vaughn. We had the failed Tim Elko project, which I don't know if any of you knew. He had at one point I looked. He had a triple A OPS of 1,300. Tim Elko came up, couldn't figure it out. We also had Ryan Noda from the Angels, who they DFA'd, I believe. All three just didn't work out. So at the end of the year, you had a split of, from what I can remember, Lenin Sosa and Miguel Vargas. This is one of our, in my opinion, best opportunities to get better. We'll talk about it more during the wish list. I don't hate Lenin Sosa being at first base. I don't hate Vargas being at first base. I just don't think that this is the long term. I don't think Lenin Sosa is our first baseman of the future. I think he's filling a spot until his arbitration is over, or he might be a trade candidate, honestly. If you package him and Robert, him and Benintendi, I mean, you can see he had 100 OPS plus last year. He's not bad. I don't, first baseman is not the position I have him in.
Yep. I mean, he's 25. I feel like I kind of feel the same way as Detroit having Colt Keith as their first baseman. He can do it, but there are better fits at first base.
100% agree. And until we figure it out, I think we do leave him there. Maybe he surprises everybody and he stays our first baseman for the next couple of years. But I just don't see it happening. I think Vargas being our longer term first baseman would be more realistic. With that, brings us to catcher. Kyle Teal. I said it before, I'll say it again. Going from seeing who he was game one, just so anxious, to here I am, I'm a major league catcher. I hit 120 OPS this year, produced a 2.0 WAR. Like, I can't say much. He speaks for himself. I really hope that he goes out there and he's someone that each of you are scared of next year. And I think that's realistic. I 100% believe that's a realistic expectation. He's going to get on base a lot, and I'm just really excited to see him play more.
I mean, I think he was one of the first, because we heard about Kyle Teal because he was part of the Garrett Crochet trade with Boston.
Correct.
He was one of the, oh crap, here's it was like the same feeling we felt with Aloy and Robert and Anderson. That didn't pan out the last generation of these, but I was like, oh crap. Well, now the White Sox might be a problem again.
So the thing is about Teal is that he makes for a great catcher. But if you go back to the previous page, we have two other catchers that finished on our roster last year in Edgar Caro and Corey Lee. Now, Edgar Caro's been in the news a little bit lately that he might be someone that is shopped around. This is the first time in my lifetime that I remember that we've had a backup at catcher, or that we had multiple catchers that could start every single day. I genuinely believe that trading Edgar Caro is not the right decision for this year. I think we should let him and Teal just continue to switch back and forth.
Right.
I mean, they're young. Let them both play. If they're not playing at catcher, they're playing at DH. And it is what it is.
Well,
they
why
both
not
hit
even
very
first
well.
base?
Well,
That's
Eric, let me get to that. I want to mention something here. I was looking at this, and I'm not trying to bury anybody at 22. That's how old Carroll is, I believe. He was at negative 13 framing runs last year at the major league level.
Mm-hmm.
Could he potentially be a first baseman given just that?
Do framing runs matter as much when we have an ABS?
I mean,
system?
ABS isn't going to be used on every pitch, though.
Yes.
It's only going to be 3 challenges, and you only challenge on the last pitch of the at bat, right? It's not going to. It's going to matter. It's going to change it some, but it's not going to change it that much. I don't think.
To that point, his other catching metrics aren't as bad. He does allow some guys to steal, but everything else is good. Blocks are good. Pop time is good. So,
And
it's a
keep
good
in
question.
mind, this is with a rotation that was either Rule 5 picks, kids, or rehabbing. Like, if he was catching a major league roster of pitchers, would that have been different? That's
Could
my
be.
question for you.
I mean,
Now,
my instant reaction with him, like, I would like him to see he needs to hit better if they're going to toy with him at first base. He had a 93 OPS plus.
I,
Like, I would
I'm just
almost
thinking a bit of. I'm not even saying that's where he's destined to be, but if we want to get all these dudes at bats, that's more where I'm coming from.
right. Well, that's
yeah.
fair.
So I honestly believe that for this next year, we keep both Teal and Caro in the majors and just let them fight for it, lack for a better term. I think what will ultimately happen is Caro's going to go catch on another team or be a backup catcher on another team, a la Perez, but not really, or what's happening in Kansas City right now. But Teal, as of right now, I can't see him not being our first baseman. And Caro, when you talk about him going to first, I think when we talk about free agency over the course of the next 2 to 3 years, first baseman, that's been like the White Sox's number one position for 25, 30 years.
Right.
The fact that we'll talk about this from the wish list, but it's not Edgar Caro. It's not Edgar Caro. And then we do have Corey Lee as well. Ultimately, I think he'll be a great backup catcher, or we can trade him. He can go be like a defensive catcher first on another team. That's fine as well. But we need to keep Teal. We need to develop him, and he's going to be great. Last but not least, we have DH. I already talked to you. We have several options in each position. Whoever's not playing their position is playing DH. That is what it is.
Right.
So that's basically what our lineup and what our fielding looks like next year. I will say I don't know exactly what the bench is going to look like. We'll talk about that in just a couple minutes. But I think 2026 is just 2025 second half continued. What does it look like when we have these players together for 162 games?
Is there anyone you'd like to see the White Sox bring in as far as any of the free agents? Because I would imagine they'll probably do some amount of looking around, but is there any name that you think would be a candidate to be on the White Sox?
So I'll stay with the offense. My wish list for offense: first baseman Pete Alonso.
Sure.
He fits our profile of what we want in a first baseman. I believe he fits our window. I know that we won't pay for him, but as a fan, as a best case scenario, Pete Alonso would be my first baseman in 2026. Obviously, not going to happen, but you can dream. With that being said, the only other major offensive positions that we need would be outfield. And when you look at the free agents in the outfield, there's no one that, to me, like that screams pick me up enough for where we are right now. I mean, sure, when we talk about DH Schwarber, like you'd want him, but when you talk about outfielders that are destined to make a lot of money this year, this offseason, Kyle Tucker. I don't want Kyle Tucker. I'll be honest. He's another injury-prone player that I don't see him living up to the amount of money they're going to pay him. You look at Cody Bellinger. I don't think he fits our profile as well. I don't think that that's necessary. Well, the best case scenario for outfield would be trading. And as of right now, I can't even think of a really good comp of like, what do we need right now? Because I think in the outfield, we still need to figure out who our outfield of the future is. And then we need to get a free agent around that.
Now, I mentioned him for the Royals, but I do think Willie Castro might be just a 1-year thing, utility guy, good defense. He's not going to hit a whole lot, but, if you're using him just to kind of plug any holes that might come up defensively, I mean, why not?
I 100% agree. 100% agree. So with that, once again, first baseman wish list is Pete Alonso. Outfield, it is what it is. Obviously, like I said, DH, we'd love a Kyle Schwarber, but we do have several options there. And that kind of wraps up my offensive breakdown. Any other comments about offense?
I don't think so.
Pitching. So this is great. The reason why this is great is because when we look at our starting rotation of 2025, you had a bunch of, is this going to work? We also, I don't know if any of you would have heard, we had anywhere from 10 to 12 pitchers that could have potentially been on our major league roster that had all had Tommy John, some kind of injury going into 25. When we look at the rotation, Shane Smith is still going to be there. Davis Martin's still going to be here. When we look at the other starting rotation, we had Davis Martin. Realistically, he should still be around. Sean Burke, Jonathan Cannon. There's no reason for any of these pitchers to not be up unless they fill in their spots. When we talk about starting pitchers, the hope, the wish list for starting pitchers would be bringing back our Dylan Cease from San Diego. He didn't have a great year last year, which would actually help us in terms of keeping the contract team friendly. But it would be so cool to have him back home. I don't believe it's going to happen based on how much he's going to be asking for, or what his agent's going to be asking for. But it would be really cool to see Cease back with us. When we talk about realistic, I have Quintana coming back for a reunion. This is just a year of reunions for me. Jose Quintana, once again, is he going to be who he's been for the last 3-4 years? Probably not. Is that what we need? Not really. We need someone to take some innings. And then realistically, we do have Martin Perez back on a more team-friendly deal. He seemed to really enjoy being here with a younger core. So I think he's almost a guaranteed.
Any
so that
thoughts
would be
on,
our
Grant Taylor or anything like that?
With him, it sounds like everything is going to stay in the bullpen.
Really?
It doesn't sound like if they do stretch him out during the year, that'll be a case by case, a month by month basis decision. But at least in terms of our rotation, you're adding one starting pitcher in, and we're going to run this again next year, I believe.
Yeah.
When we talk about our bullpen, this is where it gets fun. So I've got the baseball reference page for relief pitching up here. So I believe Lee or someone mentioned to Sam about the Royals losing in 1 to 2 run games. Chicago White Sox in 2025 led the league, or were the worst in the league, in losses in relief. 48 games.
That tracks.
48 games we lost in relief.
I
Thankfully,
believe that narrative 100%.
management does understand that. So when we look at what is the most realistic offseason additions, it's going to be in the bullpen. Are they going to be like the best people out there? Probably not. The last 2 to 3 years, you've seen the White Sox doing this. Pull those guys that are on the prove it years or that need the prove it years, and trade them at the deadline. Via looking at Hauser last year who went to Tampa Bay. We're going to see more of that for at least another year or two before we get any really high caliber bullpen players. But I know for a fact that White Sox management understands that we need to get better in the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th inning. With that, the number one thing in the offseason should be a closer. I was looking through the closer, anyone relief pitching closer available. I can't even pull a name. I think they would have to trade for somebody. Or looking back at the Angels closer for this year, I can't think of his name right at this second.
Kenley Jansen.
Kenley
Absolutely.
Jansen would be
I was
another.
going to ask you, a year of him, he's a vet. He I think he could help in the clubhouse. That would be
Yes.
one guy I'd suggest.
Oh wow! I'm looking at the current relief pitchers on the free agent market, and you are correct, Ty. This is a pretty pathetic bunch here.
The free agent market in general this offseason isn't the highest.
No, it isn't.
But that's also with players that are taking their options to go back into the team that they currently stand on, based on the impending lockout for 27. So I think when you look at what the White Sox are doing, what management wants to do with the Sox, we're going to run it back for the most part for this upcoming year. Now, a couple more things I just want to point out. When we talk about the statistics from last year, we ultimately ended in anywhere between 20 and 30 in most categories. Before they're going to spend any money in the offseason, they're going to want to see that up towards the 15 mark that the Tigers are in. You can't be league worse in every category and put money into a team. It just doesn't make sense, or at least not based on our current ownership. When we look at 2026, 2027 beyond, we do have the impending ownership change with the Ishbia. So we'll definitely see what 27 brings. But once again, I think when you look at this season coming up, you're looking at what do we have right now? What do you have in the minors? Which, for those of you who don't know, the White Sox AA team did win their league this year. So we do have a good AA club. When we talk about farm systems, we were third at the beginning of the year. We're now at 16th going into the offseason per Bleacher Report. So obviously, like a lot of those guys came up. It makes sense. So just looking at more of those prove it deals, I pulled a list off of Sport Track, and just really quick before we end the segment here, when you look at the previous AAV minus the market value, so how much they were making compared to how much they will cost. Jordan Montgomery is at the top of that list with a $22 million difference.
Yep.
When you look at him, when you look at Miles Mikolas with a $12 million difference, John Gray with an $8 million difference. These are the types of people that I see the White Sox going to try to have conversations with this offseason to see if they can go and capture some of that previous excellence, if you will. Now, it's going to be on the older side, and it is what it is, but I think there's definitely potential there.
Yeah. If you had to pick, if they had, you say they're not going to, but where should they invest more? Is it the bullpen or is it more offense?
Offense, let the kids play. Let the kids play.
Okay.
Pitching, more specifically, our bullpen. That's where we would need money. That's where we need the money. If I was just gonna do one big signing, I will say that Alonso right now at first would be the big signing. We can go get pitchers to fill in because we still have a lot of high-level prospects that are pitchers that we need to see how they're going to pan out. We have Noah Schultz. We have Hagen Smith that we expect to see in 2026. So it's just, what does that turn out to be? Figure out what our current pitching situation looks like, and then invest in 27 versus throwing 10, 20, $30 million at a player you don't know if it's going to work out now. That would be my approach.
I think this is a really interesting roster in the sense that you look at the infield. And when I say infield, I mean literally the infield, including the center of the infield. And it's all young dudes. It's all guys with a lot of potential across the infield and on the starting rotation. Then you kind of look out to the outfield, and relatively speaking, it's a bit of an old folks' home. That's an exaggeration, but you got vets out there. And then you got a bullpen that it needs to get better. It's not young, it's not old, it's just not very good. But you're at a point in your development here as a team where the bullpen's probably not the biggest issue. It's probably not the thing we're most concerned with. Why bother paying $30 million for a closer when you're going to win 65 games, 70 games, maybe higher? But my point being, closer's only going to give you so much value at this point. I just think I was just kind of perusing the White Sox top prospects. Their top prospect is an outfielder, Braden Montgomery. His ETA is until 2027, though. I'm sure that I see you smirking. I think you're probably pretty excited about him. But um, to me, it seems like get a veteran starting pitcher. I think Quintana is a really interesting idea, or somebody like Michaelis, like you were saying, just somebody that can show these guys how to be a major league pitcher and also kind of not embarrass himself out there. Somebody will be decent. Beyond that, I know Eric won't like this, but I wouldn't worry about spending a bunch of money on anybody. Let these guys go play, learn, make mistakes, hopefully get some play better as the season goes on. Why block anybody and take at bats away from anybody when you just want to learn what these guys are? So I think
Yeah,
it's really interesting.
let them figure out who they are before we start adding to it or replacing or kind of stuff like that.
100% agree. 100% agree. It'll be interesting to see. And I think what, and I kind of alluded to this when I did my intro 2 weeks ago, but when you look at the White Sox, you see a light at the end of the tunnel. We had our great season in 2020, everything started to fall off. All of our top rated prospects, all of the trades that we did, everything fell apart. And now we're finally starting to see that things are going to change. So hopefully, once again, let the kids play. I know that that's what they're going to do. We're just hoping that they continue to grow together. I do want to point out, I don't know if any of you have ever heard of this. I was blown away to hear that I want to say at least 5 of our pitchers are on a ranch somewhere in Texas right now, all spending their off season together, which I love. And then we have at least 3 or 4 of our hitters doing the same thing. I want to say in South Carolina. So like this team is, they kids want to play together. The atmosphere is so much different than what it has been. So
Yeah, I mean, the Twins will do that. Like it's player led. I know Carlos Correa would invite young players or just players in general to his house, and they would train. So it's all. I will say it's good hearing that from the White Sox rather than the previous generation of veterans that they had, because it didn't seem like that was exactly the case. So at least somebody is learning something.
What would you consider a successful season for the 2026 White Sox, Ty?
I heard another podcaster saying somewhere in the 70 win range. I want to believe that, but if we get 69 wins, I'm happy.
Which is,
I mean, that's a good number of wins to have.
It's a 9-game improvement. There's rarely teams that are better than a 9-game improvement from the year before. Ask the Twins, who went, I think, negative, whatever. They didn't do well, is the point. But I don't think this is the year for the White Sox, and I think you're in agreement with it. But next year, especially as Justin Ishbia looms with his, even for billionaires money, with FU money, that he can just buy whoever the hell he wants. That's exciting. And
Just in time for a salary cap.
Yeah, that's probably a good point. But
Maybe.
I'm going to guess whatever gets in with that salary cap, they're going to be allowed to go over it X%. I think there's going to be a morphing, but we'll see. We'll find that answer maybe next winter or whenever the lockout ends, if it ends. Who knows? Maybe this is the last year of baseball. Who knows? They might kill it.
I do have one more comment.
Yes.
On the White Sox. You guys are going to hate me for this. Against AL Central teams, Cleveland, 2-11, Detroit, 5-8, Kansas City Royals, 3-10, Minnesota, 8-5.
Yep.
No matter what their standing, their record is on the season, if they can finish 500 or above against AL Central, I'm happy.
Or even just putting up a fight, because outside of the Twins, 2-11 against a team, that's not great.
Cleveland has always had our number. You go back to Josh Naylor. we can't. We have no
You hate
answer.
those brothers too? Do you hate
No
them
answer.
also?
Yeah, join us in the
Goddamn
Naylor
nerve.
brothers hate.
It was the
Skubal.
White Sox fans that set him off that one time. They were yelling at
That
him,
was
calling
so
him
funny.
names.
That was so funny.
It was amazing.
But like I said, we'll see what happens.
Well, I think that'll do us for the White Sox, and that probably is going to bring it to an end for the week. Unless anybody has any last minute thoughts, any dreams for the White Sox, or just anyone in general, I think we can probably put a bow on this one.
We'll see you soon, Pete Alonso.
They have the money to do it. Certainly being in Chicago. So with that, we'll leave that with a cliffhanger. We'll see you guys next week. Have a good week, everyone.